for turning up, everybody. Should we introduce ourselves before we get going, please? So Sally and Kay to start with, I think. Sally, you're silent.
Okay, sorry. First thing in the morning. I'll get my act together now. Sally Littlejohn, councillor in Canhole Ward. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Kay Isa, councillor for Chingford Green Ward.
Officers in any order. Chris, perhaps to start with.
My name is Chris Foxton, Democratic Services and Clerk to the Licensing Committee.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Sherman. I'm the licensing officer, and I'll be the person presenting the report.
Donya Kalantari, Solicitor, Legal Services.
Morning, I'm Asim Bajwa. I'm the resident of 4B Station Road.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Tom McFall. I'm a resident at 2B Station Road.
Good morning, I'm Lucy Kelly. I'm also a resident at 2B Station Road.
Bajwa?
Hiya.
Would you
Hello.
like?
I'm Nassam Mahmood. I'm from 4A Station Road.
Thank you. Okay, and is that everybody in Ross?
Yeah, Ross, applicant for license.
Okay, is that everybody? Excellent. Okay, right. Donya, would you like to outline the procedure?
Thank you, Chair. We'll proceed by way of agenda item 4 on page 7 of the agenda pack. The licensing officer will present their report. The chair will then call for all parties to present their case. This will begin with the applicant and will be followed by questions. There are no responsible authorities, therefore we'll move on to the other parties to present their case. This will also be followed by questions. The chair will then call for all parties to sum up their case. We will begin with the other parties and this will then be followed by the applicant. The subcommittee will then retire to make its decision. The decision will be given with full reasons and within 5 working days. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Just to make it clear to all our guests, this is a quasi-judicial process, albeit done in an informal manner, in which those of us making the decision are basically bound by the law, because otherwise any decision could then be overturned. And in looking at the papers I picked up, there were 2 features that are not common to these proceedings, which I picked up, and I'd like, Donya, could you please just comment on those 2 things? That is the cumulative impact policy and the matter of the covenants.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, in respect of the property matter, the covenant, the committee can't actually take that into consideration because they can only deal with licensing issues. But of course, in respect of representations in regards to crime and disorder or public nuisance, they will be taken into consideration when making their decision. In terms of the cumulative impact policy, Sherman will also touch on this when he sets out his report. But please note that there will be a rebuttable presumption under the cumulative impact policy that the application will be refused unless the applicant can demonstrate in their operating schedule that there will be no negative cumulative impact on one or more of the licensing objectives. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I think it's just worth clarifying that, because that certainly those are two matters don't apply to all the proceedings that we carry out. If I could just ask everybody, when not speaking, which you seem to have done already, to mute yourselves, and if you do have a problem with the signal, let us know, because we might further restrict the visuals if that becomes necessary. Thanks very much. So, Sherman, would you like now to present the report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. An application for the grant of a premises license has been received from Mr. Ross Butler for the premises Butlers Gin, 2 Station Road, Walthamstow, London, E17 8AA.
Hold. There is no mention of Butlers Gin. That is one of my 16 businesses. There is no mention of Butlers Gin on any application. Thank you. Proceed.
So that's not the name, so apologies for that. Okay, so I'll start again. An application for the grant of a premises license has been received from Mr. Ross Butler for the premises 2 Station Road, Walthamstow, London, E17 8AA, which is situated within a cumulative impact policy covered area. The application seeks a premises license to permit the provision of the sale of alcohol on and off the premises and opening hours, which will be Sunday to Thursday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m, Friday and Saturday, 12 p.m. till 12 a.m. A full copy of the application can be found at Appendix A to the report. Representations during the consultation of the licensing service received 5 representations from other persons that relate to the prevention of public nuisance and the prevention of crime and disorder licensing objectives. This is in accordance with Section 9.3 of the revised guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. Several of the representations refer to a written HM Land Registry restrictive covenant, and one of the other persons supplied a copy within their representation. This matter cannot be considered as the covenant does not relate to any of the 4 licensing objectives, and the extract copy of the covenant has not been included within this report. The representations can be found at Appendix D of the report, and no representations opposing the application were received from any of the responsible authorities. Just quickly refer to the cumulative impact policy. So, the effect of cumulative impact policy in the area provides where a relevant representation is received against new applications for a premises license and club premises certificate or provisional statement, or variation applications for an existing premises license or club premises certificate. There will be a rebuttal presumption under the cumulative impact policy that the application will be refused unless the applicant can demonstrate in their operating schedule that there will be no negative cumulative impact on one or more of the licensing objectives. The cumulative impact will not prevent applications in the above areas. Each case will be decided on its own merits, but applicants will have to comprehensively demonstrate in their application that it will not add to existing problems in the area. After giving due consideration to the representations made and taking into account the views of the applicant, and after giving due regard to the amended guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act and the Council's own statement of licensing policy, the committee is respectfully asked to determine whether the application for a premises license should be granted in full, granted in part, or refused. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Sherman. Ross, now would you like to present your case, please? You're silent. You won't convince us very greatly unless we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I'm the license holder for a few different venues. Knowing that, as Sherman's mentioned, one of my other assets means that research has been carried out into checking what licenses that I already obtain. From distillers to winemakers to licensed venues. I'm well experienced in making sure that there is no negative community impact on the area, and what I'm eager to do today is to make sure that the residents that are opposing the application is that if we come to an understanding is that from what I've read on the rejection letters, is that it's mostly just down to a noise issue. And if we need to restrict the noise levels and if we need to restrict the time of the noise levels, I am 100% open to doing that to make sure everybody is happy for another licensed alcohol premises to be on that road. There's plenty already there. There's already a cocktail bar across the road. Everybody's lovely. I'm trying to work in everybody's favor here. I don't see that we shouldn't we should be rejected an alcohol license in any in any way, because there's already plenty there, and if it's down to a noise issue, then we address that with the right noise meters and we restrict our hours to make sure that the residents are happy. So if we need to go for a part approval, I'm all for it. I'm all for listening and I'm all for working towards this, but I don't see why anything should be rejected. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ross. Questions from my colleagues? Kay.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Ross. Well, I'll do. Thank you for your good intentions and the way you're approaching this case. Very, it shows that you do take in consideration of the people living above and around you. How big is your place? How many people would it have at one time? How busy would you get?
25 at any at maximum. We place seating down for 8 plus 6, so that is I didn't go to high school, so you can do that one up yourself. I put down the license for up to 25, but if we need to bring it down to 8 plus 6 plus staff, I'm happy to proceed on that.
That's great, thank you. So about 25 people, lovely.
Yeah.
That's great. And about the music noise, you're happy to reduce the hours, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm also happy to put in a decibel counter that would cut out the noise levels at either a specified time or cut it out if the decibels increase. Similar to what you see in like a nightclub or a wedding venue.
Right, and I see from your plan that there is an outside sitting area as well, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and how many people will be sitting outside?
6.
6, okay. Thank you. Well, that's all my questions. Thank you very much, Ross.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Kay. Sally, please.
Thank you, Richard. I've got 2 questions. One is, on your application, there's a place where you say there shall be a maximum of 4 smokers allowed to smoke at the front of the premises. Now, do I take that to mean that it's on the street? That's one question. My other question is, in the prevention of public nuisance requirement, I mean, this is what we're concerned about, and this is what the cumulative impact zone concerns itself with. I don't really see anything over and above what we would normally see. So I'm just wondering, you know, how further, what over and above what we'd normally expect you would do, apart from, you know, maybe reducing hours to prevent public nuisance. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I'll answer the smokers first. By standard, if I'm filling out any kind of application, I usually put down 4 smokers exterior. So if that needs to be questioned or changed in any way, I'm all up for rolling with that. Secondly, going over and above, we just have to make sure that if you just My background's clean. I have no marks on any of my records. I've been a personal license holder probably for 8 years now, and this has been spread over plenty of venues, as also as a licensed distiller, as a licensed winemaker, as the first licensed wine kegging plant in the UK, licensed brewery at Deviant and Dandy in Hackney. There's I've got a big record and a clean record. So whenever it comes to going over above and beyond, I just have to listen to what the public have to tell me and action on their on what their needs are. So I just comply with health and safety following a very bog standard due diligence procedure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Sally, are you happy with that?
Well, yes, I actually have one more question, which is
Yeah.
about public safety. One of the issues in this area, and possibly why the cumulative impact zone is there, has been to do with crime. And I wonder, you don't mention security staff at all. I'm just slightly concerned about that. I know yours is a small premise, but what would you do? You know, how would you deal with, say,
no problem. If there
criminal activity around the place or impinging into your premises?
Absolutely, no problem. I will take observation from, there's a cocktail bar facing the venue, and I'll take observation that should they be using SIA staff for security at the door, we will follow procedure. If for the sake of crime prevention in the area, it would probably work in favor that we only work by reservations only. Then that way there's always a door host, and then we do not accept walk-ins. It works better in this more digital age that we're in because people can scan a QR code and then we can harvest their data as we go.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
All right. Thanks very much, Sally. Ross, could you just give us an overall view as to what kind of establishment it is that you propose to run? Because I don't. Sorry, I haven't got a feel for is it are people going to basically be eating food? What if one went to for a fun night out in Station Road, what would it be like?
Okay, it's a cafe that just serves alcohol. That's all it is.
So you'll be providing basically food and
there's no intention to serve food. It's the setup costs to just enter as a startup business just isn't within the favor of that. It's a cafe that serves like beverages only, so it'll be just teas, coffees, and alcohols.
Okay, thanks for that. So what role and to what extent would the music enhance? Let's say I pitch up there and you know, for a drink, I'm you know, of some sort, and I'm what role would the music play? How important would it be in a night out?
The music is only there for ambience, which is why I'm totally fine to put any kind of sound restrictors on it. This is not a place that you can come and put down your handbag and have a dance. There's not enough room for it. I've built a really big, long cocktail bar running the whole way down the middle of the room, and that means that people can sit there and they can have an espresso or they can have a cocktail. And there's 3 seated tables in the venue that is not the cocktail bar itself. So it's just one big, long stretch bar and 3 small tables around it with 3 tables out the back.
Right.
So it's I've set it up with the intention is it's somewhere you take a date.
Well, there's an invitation. Now, you don't envisage there being the music to be audible in the outside area, which you also propose to be
No.
licensed.
That's right. I don't expect any music to be outside in any way ever.
And if it were to be stipulated that no music should be audible outside the premises, how would you react to that stipulation?
I would propose that. I think that that's a great idea for the prevention of any disturbance towards any neighbour.
Okay. Thanks a lot. The other question is, I noticed that I mean, it sounds as if you probably won't be steaming on till midnight, actually, bearing in mind what you've described. I noticed that you didn't, the time for the stopping of the music and the serving of alcohol was the same as closing time.
Yeah.
So you didn't have I'm old, and I remember, although it was always far too short, I remember drinking up time, and you don't seem to envisage having any drinking up time during which things kind of quieten down. I think
usually in my experience is that I'm well aware that I should be calling the last orders alcohol time. But what I'm also aware of is that majority of the applications that I go through end up in these calls. So I make sure that they join, so that this due diligence procedure that we're going through, this decision that we're making today, means that we make a final decision on what those hours are and what the last orders are. From time to time, I've seen from different councils wanting to have a 15-minute before closing time drink up time. I've also seen 1 hour in Hackney. I've also seen 30 minutes in Hackney. So it's better that we just put that on the final paperwork.
Okay, so you're quite amenable to that. My colleague Kay
I'm so flaccid on all of this, honestly.
Okay, thanks. My colleague Kay has indicated that she's got another question for you. So go ahead, Kay.
Thank you, Chair. Ross, how many staff will you be employing?
3 at maximum.
3 at maximum. Okay. That's thank you. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think I've asked all the questions that I want to ask, except that I suppose if we were to propose that smokers should be in the back rather than the front, how would you react to that, rather than standing around on the pavement?
Well, that's much better, because if we have to propose a reservation only policy, then we want to keep everybody on the premises as long as possible, because they spend more money.
Okay, well, thank you for that reminder of the commercial world. I think that's all the questions from us. So we don't have any responsible authorities present. Sherman, you've indicated. Do you have a question? In that you're technically a responsible authority.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's not actually a question. It's just I know we're going to the next stage to ask the other persons if they would like to raise a query to Mr. Butler. But I just thought, for the purposes of the other persons, where the recorded music requirement, so under the Deregulation Act, where there's a premises license where it has on sales of alcohol, there's almost like an entitlement where they can provide recorded and live music between 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. With a maximum capacity of 500 people. So I just want to highlight that to the other parties, because Mr. Butler's application does request recorded music Friday to Saturday, 11 to midnight. So they might not appreciate that there's the requirement where they have almost an automatic entitlement with regards to the deregulation. So I hope that clears that up for anyone who wasn't sure about the requirement of the times for Mr. Butler's application. Okay,
thank you for that clarification, Sherman. Right, our other guests are the other parties. Now, Lucy has indicated that I don't actually think we're going to crash into your red line for leaving, Lucy, but seeing as you may have to leave us, why don't you go first, and then others, if they wish to ask questions, can then do so. Do bear in mind that you have an opportunity afterwards to state your case. So these are questions to Ross on his application rather than stating your case. Thank you.
Okay. I suppose the main questions I would have are so with the discussion of like a decibel counter, because we've had, so with the takeaway downstairs, which is also in our building, they've sometimes had music on, and it's only happened a couple of times, but it's been incredibly, like, it's really vibrated in the building because it's an 80s construction. It's not like, it isn't the most sturdily built block, I would say, and like you can just really feel the bass, which makes it really hard to sleep. And that has only happened a couple of times. It hasn't been an issue at all, but you know, I would be concerned that kind of even if the music wasn't necessarily that loud, that it would be like resonating through the building. And I just wondered so in your experience with having other bars and things, what things have you put in place to stop that kind of transmission of the vibrations? Because that really has been more of an issue for me than the actual noise, just because of the building's construction.
Absolutely, I completely agree. So whenever I'm setting up in venues, I use these like low bass like TV speakers. So they're like these long tubes that are they're built for sitting underneath televisions, and I put them on the floor because it's not for music. The music is for background music. It's not for a karaoke or any kind of live entertainment. It's only to create an ambience. So whereas the sound will be traveling up from the floor around, there's no intention of putting any bass or any bass bins in that would blow up through the building. How you can imagine how sound works is that sound travels the way that you would imagine something moving underwater, that it has a ripple effect and it will bounce off anything that it wants to ripple around, creating another resonance and another resonance, which creates the vibration that travels up through a building. So what the best intention to do is to have the decibel counter. There are some decibel counters that keep reduced bass, but there is no bass integrated into the current sound system of the building. And I would happily just take observation into making sure that we have a decibel count to know that it's not traveling up into any kind of the flat above. Plus, there's plenty of furniture downstairs that will be absorbent to the sound that's traveling from the speakers that are set lower to the floor rather than to the ceiling.
Okay. And I think another question would be just with the outside area. When I go to bed, I tend to have my window open, and you know, just to get some fresh air. And I can imagine, I'm just thinking of myself when I go out to bars with my friends, you know, I kind of chatter gets very, very loud when people have been drinking, and I can just imagine it just being really loud outside, you know, and that's not, you know, bouncing off any furniture. That is coming straight into my bedroom window, you know, and that's what would be the restrictions in terms of timing on people being outside. Because for me, if someone's outside, I'm a teacher, I'm a primary school teacher, I get up at 6 a.m. to go to work, and you know, I'm not going to bed later than maybe 10:30. And if there's people outside having a really rowdy time and that is floating into my bedroom window, that is going to be quite detrimental to my sleep and my quality of life.
Okay,
No.
I think that it's only fair that that we prevent our use of the garden until 10 o'clock, just to keep it soft for you, and then we put a sign on the back door itself to let our customers know what time that garden is closing at. And we also keep signs on the tables that says keep a noise level to a minimum and respect our neighbours.
Okay. I think in terms of questions, that's probably it from me.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lucy, for that. Do any of our other interested parties have any questions for Ross? No? Okay. Right, speak now or else forever hold your peace. It's not quite like that. If someone, with Ross's agreement, if someone suddenly thinks of a question later, I'm sure you'd be happy to answer it. Let's not be too. We can vary the procedure so long as everybody's in agreement that we vary the procedure. But so it will be up to you, Ross, to agree to that, basically. OK, we don't have the responsible authorities to make a case, so it's up to the other parties now to make your case. So Lucy, are you the spokesperson going to make the case for those who are opposing the application? No? Is anyone else going to make the case for?
I think Tom is gonna, because we already discussed the points with Tom, and I think he's going to represent in behalf of all of us from the residents.
Okay.
So
thank you. Is that your understanding, Tom?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Please go ahead then, and then after you've made your point, then you may be questioned by ourselves and Ross on the points that you have made. Okay. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Well, so our main concern really is about the level of disruption and noise and how it affects our families. And Lucy's touched on this already, but really the main issue is the structurally borne sound. You know, the airborne sound isn't really a massive issue per se, but the building really, it's hard to overemphasize how much sound travels in that building. And even without there being a bar there, you can hear the commercial property 2 floors above. You can hear movement in the commercial properties. So sound travelling structurally is a real issue in that premises. And I'd be concerned that simply decoupling the speakers from the floor isn't enough to make that go away. And playing recorded music would be really to the detriment of our family and our ability to sleep. And that's really just down to the structure of the building. The other issue, I think, is that the bar itself isn't really in keeping with the area. Ross mentioned that there is a bar on the street, and there is on the opposite corner, but that bar is only open 2 nights a week, and also it's in a unit which the bar owners live above, so there's absolutely no structurally borne noise there. It's a very quiet bar, so it's not necessarily comparable. And there's another issue which isn't, it's a little complex and it doesn't necessarily bear relation to these proceedings, but might in the future, which is that currently there's a dispute regarding the rear area of the bar, which is that the flats believe it is theirs and the bar has been assigned a lease which says it's theirs. Now, obviously, this isn't something which this hearing is here to think about, but if this proceeds to a first-tier tribunal, which it seems it's going to, then we would expect that that garden is going to be returned to us, and we have been told that that is the most likely outcome, at which point we are going to be sharing a garden with a bar. And, you know, it's obviously of concern to us that potentially there's children out playing there in a garden which has been shared with a licensed premises. So those are our main issues, really. Sorry, I can't hear you, Richard.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Does anyone else wish to add to Tom's presentation? Okay, go ahead.
I mean, Tom basically mentioned the points. I think we agreed with that. There's another point, because if you know, the crime rate in this area is quite high. And a few months ago, we had a really bad incident. There was a guy, drunk guy, he just broke in the main door and he went to each and every flat, and even he stabbed one of our friend who lives downstairs. So this crime rate is also a big issue, because, you know, if people come here, drink, and, you know, you don't know who's coming, who's going out. And we got children, they play in the garden for their safety as well. So that's my concern as well, apart from the one which Tom mentioned.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody else wish to add to Tom and Bajwa's presentation? Okay. Do my colleagues have any questions for the?
Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Nessa, one of the residents at Station Road.
Well,
Obviously,
okay. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry. I work nights. And obviously I sleep during the day. And obviously any license that, if it is granted, and if the garden's going to be used and people are going to be downstairs, that is going to affect my life and my children's life. Because if I can't get my sleep, then of course I'm not going to be able to do my daily jobs. So I just want to bring that to his attention. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for that.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks. Is there anyone else, even if I can't see them?
Hello, Richard. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. Who are you?
Hello, yeah. My name's Akil. I'm a resident of number 3 Station Road.
Yeah.
I actually own my property. I've lived here for over 20 years, and in that time, I agree with the other residents. The crime rate is not the best. I mean, I've had ongoing issues with antisocial behaviour, and especially rubbish, which has been reported to council over the last years. Fridges, rubbish, mattresses, all manner of stuff that's been dumped in the corner, as well as people urinating there and against my against my property as well. Now, I believe that should this licence be granted, we've already got enough licensed premises along St James Street anyway. We don't need any more, and this venue encroaches onto Station Road. Now, I appreciate what the applicant is actually saying, but after he's closed his business, those customers they're not his responsibility anymore. Now, if they're out and about until 1 o'clock in the morning, they go over to Tesco's, get a bottle of alcohol, and they can sit there when the weather's good and drink. You know, at the end of the day, we can call the police, but they've got other things to do. You know, what do you say? Do you say to them, can you move along, please? I mean, you probably know the answer you're going to get. So for me, I can't move. You know, I'd love to move somewhere else, but at the end of the day, I've got an elderly mother living across the road, and you know, I have to look after them as well. So it does affect us. It's not just these people here that have actually gone on to say, look, I don't want this licence. I mean, there's elderly neighbours I've spoken to, and they're immensely against it. So it's affecting our way of life at the end of the day. How many more bars are going to open? It's just too much.
Thank you very much, Akil. Does anyone else wish to add to the presentation so far? Okay, thank you. Do my colleagues have any questions relating to the presentations of the other parties?
No, Chair.
No? Have we Sally, have you got any other questions? You're silent.
Keep doing that. I think my questions revolve around issues to do which are probably not part of this licensing committee, which are to do with this covenant and the disputed garden. So I think that is, can I just clarify that neither of, well, we've already talked.
Well, let before Donya clarifies it, let me clarify that this can have no bearing on our decision.
Yeah, okay.
Agreed, yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
You can't take into consideration property or planning matters. You have to only consider the licensing objectives when making your decision.
Okay, so we have to kind of clear that out of our minds in terms of the license. Okay, yeah, thanks for that.
Okay, right, we have no responsible authorities. Ross, do you have any questions relating to the presentations that you've heard?
Yes, so given we've got 3 points, and so I'll direct my question to you, Tom, as the representative of the collective. It seems like if we were to work towards a 10 p.m. garden restriction, a decibel counter to cover the property, as if to say, if next door's having a big party and we've got a decibel counter, we can say, hey, it wasn't us. All of our decibels are recorded, and we keep a low bass sound system which is already installed, and focus on keeping the establishment as reservations only. Then I think that we clear up all of the issues that, as a collective, that you're trying to address. Do you agree?
Not entirely, Ross, because you say fitting a decibel counter, but we're not specifying what decibel that would be set at.
Okay, that would be on for the licensing to do that. I think that's down to maybe Sherman, sorry, has a bit more experience than me on restricting to saying what level of decibels is allowed in a venue of that capacity.
Yeah, so without knowing that, I couldn't really answer. If it was, 10 decibels, then absolutely. If it's 92, absolutely not.
I agree.
Did you have another question?
No, that's me. Thank you so much.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thank you very much, everybody. Now, in the running order, Tom, you have the opportunity to sum up your case, and then Ross has the last word and sums up his case at the end. But I don't think these two contributions are going to be over lengthy, but you might surprise me, of course.
Chair, sorry to interrupt.
I don't.
Oh, sorry,
Sorry to interrupt, Chair, but before we proceed, does Sherman have any comment on the decibel counter, or would we need a noise officer to confirm? Are you able to confirm what sort of decibel counter would be appropriate, Sherman?
Thank you, Donna. Yeah, I was going to probably mention that to you guys afterwards, but in terms of setting like a noise decibel level, it wouldn't be the licensing team, it would be the noise authority. So the noise officer would have to do it, as they have the experience and the knowledge and know-how to be able to do that. I mean, they haven't made an objection in this instance, but if that's something that you'd want to present it to them, we would have to then see if they would agree to do it as well. So although it could be conditioned, it would have to be something that they would have to agree as well. Okay.
Is it likely that they would disagree? Say, for example, there was a condition that the applicant was to contact the noise team to agree on a decibel counter. Could the noise team would have to sort of carry out the assessment, right? Or would they object?
They would have to. I just think because it has to be done by EHL. I don't know if they're all are EHLs. I believe one of them may be. So I mean, as long as they're satisfied to do it, then certainly I can't see it being an issue.
If I could, without predetermining any decision that we might reach, I did fish around this when asking Ross about his presentation, in that I asked whether he thought it would be a reasonable condition for any music to be inaudible outside the premises, and whatever the decibel counter is set at, that's quite a clear and hard-edged condition. And the other thing that would concern me, which might give some comfort to the other residents, is that I'm aware that background music, over which we have little control before 11 p.m, but nevertheless, background music does cause people to raise their voices. So we may well propose a condition, and which Ross seems to find reasonable, and therefore he won't go to court to try and overturn it, hopefully. That if the music is audible outside the premises, and I think we would also include vibration that go up the building in this definition, that might be a way around it. But of course, we may decide to turn down the application, or we may decide to agree it without any restrictions whatsoever. Although I think our I'll stop there before I get into legal trouble. That may be helpful, and may be helpful to the residents in that whatever the decibel counter is set at, if you can hear it, it's too loud. It seems to me to be quite a good guide, and I don't think, Ross, you're not disagreeing with that.
I completely agree with you. Thank you.
Okay, right. So, Tom, would you like to summarise your case, please?
So really, I've said most of what I want to say. You know, the disturbance is the main issue. Secondly, there's this other issue that we can't really consider at this point. I would like just to add, and I do speak from some experience here. I spent 20 years working as a sound engineer and built numerous studios and other acoustically treated environments. That decibel meters
very useful to us. Thanks.
That decibel meters do only work off airborne sound, so really they don't take into regard anything to do with vibrations, which are our primary concern here. So they're really, you know, that is our primary consideration, and the decibel meter, while being effective for outside noise, is not really going to deal or react to vibrations. Other than that, I think I've said everything I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any of the other Bajwa, yes.
I know we're all talking about the music thing, which definitely is the most important thing. But like I said before, the safety, because we got children and they need to use garden. And, you know, my children, they sleep 9 o'clock. They have to wake up early. So it's going to disturb a lot for our privacy and all the children sleep. And, you know, like Mr. Mahmood, he works nights. So, I mean, these are also concerns which are really, for me, I think, more important than the noise about, you know, the safety and the privacy of the children as well.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any of the other parties have anything that they wish to add in terms of a summary? No. Okay. Thank you very much. Ross, would you like to summarise your case, please?
Yes, please. So I am happy to accept a hard acceptance to my application. I'm really happy to work with the neighbours as best as possible. I'm happy to stick with a 6-person maximum garden for the only smokers area. I'm happy to have that closed at 10 p.m. in the evenings. I'm happy to install a decibel counter. I'm happy to welcome the sound officer, and I'm happy to work on reservations only. And that's as far above and beyond as I think that I could possibly go, unless you can recommend anything else to proceed with a premises license for sale of alcohol. Thank you.
I did ask you whether you were happy for to agree for the music to be inaudible in turn, including vibrations, yes, outside the bar. Can you add that? Are you prepared to add that to your list of agreeable?
Yes, I'm prepared to add to my list of agreeable circumstances that we can make sure that all of the music is inaudible outside of the premises. Okay.
Muted myself. Thank you very much for that, everybody. Well, that is the end of our formal proceedings. We, the three of us, together with our legal advisor, now discuss the application and reach our decision, which will, I think, under these circumstances, will be notified to everybody by email as soon as in a shortened form, and then the formal response will come within the stipulated time period, which, Donia, is
5 days.
Five.
Christopher will send out the letter within 5 days.
Yeah, that's 5 working days.
Working days, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for a very good-natured discussion. And we will be taking into consideration everybody's contributions, and we'll try and reach the best decision that we can, bearing in mind all the various strictures that there are on us. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming today, and we'll